Hello, I'm James, and I'm an old guy in Europe. Hello and welcome to another episode of An Old Guy in Europe. In this week's episode, Carl Munson and I again riff over a variety of subjects on his Good Morning Portugal show, including an English and Portuguese idiom, taking the train to Porto, trying to understand the Porto Metro system, my experience of the energetic difference between Porto and Lisboa, and what usually is not talked about in casual conversation in Portugal. So please, just sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Swing! Olá, bom dia, amigo!
Bom dia! Como tens passado?
Muito bom fim de semana, obrigado, com meu amigo Frank. Uncle
Muito
Frank.
bem.
Uncle, what's uncle? Oh dear. Anyway, well, como vão
Tio.
Tio Frank,
Sim.
tio Francisco. Assim, e como vão as coisas, James?
Muito bem. Fabuloso. Matter of fact, I put this in Portuguese. Sou um bolo fabuloso.
Pois. Well done. Power, my friend.
Did I catch you again? I'm just quoting you.
I think we did pretty well there. Go on.
I'm quoting you. I'm practicing Portuguese for saying I'm a fabulous cake.
Ice your cake. It was my advice, wasn't it? And I forgot all about that.
No, your advice was to claim being a fabulous cake.
Yes, yeah.
So you said this could be your mantra. I am a fabulous cake. So yes. I put that in Portuguese.
Thank you so much. Yes. And for next week, can we have icing? Because I mean, that's the point I was making, is that you are a fabulous cake already, and anything else that happens on top of that is the icing or the cherry on top, isn't it? So I hope you had a few cherries on top as well this weekend, James.
Yes, and the cherry on top is reminding me. I had a conversation with Anna when we came down to São Martinho de Porto, and we're talking about the icing on the cake. In English, and she says, "What does that mean?" I said, "Well, it's kind of like putting, and I just explained it to her, and she said, "Oh, in Portuguese we say cherry on top of the cake," and I said, "Oh, we have a similar thing in English." And it was cherry on top of now I can't remember, on top of the ice cream or something like that, but it's all the similar concept. And I love the universality of these types of sayings. Like almost every language has something like that represents that concept. It's really fascinating and fun.
Yeah. How about you and your weekend, and what have you been thinking in this past week, my friend?
Eu estava no Porto
oh yeah,
no fim de semana. Sorry, I need a
got a bit of tripe. Have you got a bit of tripe stuck in your throat?
Excuse me for that.
Yes.
And I don't have I do have water with me, but it's pretending to be my microphone. I'm listening.
Yes, very good. One of those CIA microphones. Okay.
Good morning, caller. I'm listening.
So you've been to Porto.
Yeah. So I managed to bring the sunshine with me for the 2 days I was there. And then I managed to keep the rain just behind me all the way back home. About 20 minutes after I arrived, it started raining. So it was perfect. I didn't have to get wet. It was beautiful weather to be out in and walking around. My appreciation for the Lisboa Metro was increased by the introduction to the Porto Metro, which I'm sure is understandable once you get to know it, but it seemed very much more confusing to me. Sorry.
I just spat some water. You got me.
Time for you to wipe off your screen.
Yes, I don't know what damage that's caused. I don't know why that tickled me so much. It's like, I'm sure it's fine once you get. That's a really sort of damned by faint praise kind of comment there, isn't it? So I think you prefer the Lisbon Metro currently.
Well, it's the Lisboa Metro is very similar to the Bay Area Rapid Transit in the East Bay of the San Francisco area. It's virtually identical ways of showing you where you're going on the map. So it was much easier. I was already somewhat familiar. I've been on it a few times, so I have to give it that I'm more familiar with it. But yeah, the Porto lines just seemed overly complex to me. It's like there's got to be an easier way. You go to this zone and this zone, then you need one trip. But if you go out of that zone, but you can stay there for an hour. But then if you get back on here and you go here, then you need another trip. So you have to get so many trips or pay them one at a time. It's like, wow, And I've simplified my public transportation in the Lisboa area by having a monthly pass. So anytime I go in a gate, just hit the pass. It's easy, and they have that on their phones, so it's the same for them there. Just as a visitor, it's a very different structure. So fortunately, Connie, both Connie and Hank, but Connie in the morning because we know Hank is a sleeping bear.
Of course.
Came and picked me up at the train station, so I didn't have to navigate that system to find them, and then. When I came back on Sunday, Connie graciously got up even earlier than she normally does to help me find the train station again and be in the right place. So it's all good. Great host, great time, great company.
And what else have you learned about Porto then on this visit?
I'm trying to think what I learned. I already knew I'm generally not a big city kind of person. It's too compact. I believe that I have some empathic qualities, so I pick up energy from people. And if there's a bunch of them packed together, I can manage it for a while, but then I really have to work on not being overwhelmed, and then I get exhausted. So I did not have that experience in Porto because I was mostly focused on the people I was with as opposed to the environment around me. But there's definitely, I haven't been around that much of Lisboa, but most of where I've been has been the more modern business areas. And in Porto, I didn't see anything that really looked like that. I saw old buildings, old churches, old steeples, old architecture. So that was one thing I noticed that was different. I'm going to say generally it felt less crowded. I mean, it was busy, but I don't know what that's about. Maybe because when I'm in Lisboa, I'm mostly on public transportation going where I need to go, and it always seems very crowded. So I don't know that that's a difference. And of course, the weather is just dependent on the time of the year. I'd have to be there a long time, but it was mostly sunny skies, and the temperature dropped, I think, pretty much everywhere, at least from Lisboa north and possibly even south. Significantly this weekend. It dropped from averaging around 18, 19 to 10 and 11. It's like, whoa, okay.
It's chilly. Yes.
So yeah, it was
there for the people rather than the place, by the sound of it.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, I'm always interested in the place, and going up on the train, I was able to look. I was on the west side of the train, so I was able to look at what we were passing on the ocean side of the tracks. And so as we approached Porto, I saw some of the smaller cities or villas as we went up, and I said, "Oh, those." Because I could look down the street. It was a straight street to the ocean, so I could see the ocean from the train through the street of the buildings. And the architecture, the structures are very different than what I'm familiar with in Ericeira. The homes with sort of steeple corners and facades that are carved and things that I don't see so much in Ericeira. So that caught my eye. I think the buildings.
That's on public transport. Is there much to say about that? Because I was singing the praises of traveling by bus from San Martinho to Porto to Lisbon and then back down to the Algarve for Frank. And that is €18. He's there in, I think, 5 hours or so. And it's quicker than the train. The train doesn't really work in San Martino de Porto as fast as that, or as good economy as that, I think. How was your train journey going from Ericeira up to Porto?
It was great. I learned a lot about a lot more about the train because I had taken it once to San Martino de Porto. It worked fine for me, and it on the train was actually only about I don't know, an hour and 10 minutes from Lisboa. So once I got to Lisboa, it only took just over an hour. So I didn't find that cumbersome. Although the trains, I think they've relegated those sort of off routes for the old metro cars or something. It was not it was not your long distance train system. And my plan going up to Porto was I had set up my transportation to arrive 50 or 55 minutes early, because first of all, I don't like being in a panic, being on time. And I wanted to give myself time because I know I would be leaving too early, to have a coffee and relax, and then go kind of explore the platform, walk down the train, look in the windows to see, what was inside each car, that kind of thing. And because of one very small but very significant road construction going on in what looked to be a major artery of Lisboa, traffic was backed up bumper to bumper for about 10 kilometers. So my bus took nearly 30 minutes longer to get where I needed to be. And then I had not estimated the time on the metro to get to the Orient station. So I arrived at the Orient station at 5 minutes after 9, and my train was scheduled to leave at 9 minutes after 9.
Right, run.
Yes. So I was like, and then I started all the things I've learned, like follow the people, and because I was like, oh, where do I go? Where do I go? And I saw people running. I said, well, if they're running, they're probably late for the train too. I better follow them. And then I said, oh, there's screen monitors up there. And I looked up at it, and it said, Porto 909. And I said, well, that's me. What's that? That's okay. So these are the stairs I take. I just ran up, doors open, jumped on the train, and they left a few minutes late. But I do not like arriving like that. I mean, I got on there in the last minute, and I had no time to have a coffee, no time to do anything but jump on the train, so I didn't miss it. So I hadn't located like where the dining car was. Hadn't taken a peek in first class to see how that was different than the section I was in, because I went up AP, not particularly because that was my choice. It's just it was the only train that was leaving at the time that I needed to leave to be where I wanted to go. So it just worked out that way. So I got an AP train up, and then I forget what they call just the normal train back, and learned the differences. And on the way back, I was able to take my time. I got there early, so I looked inside the first class cars, and I looked into this, okay, and I walked through the dining car to kind of get a sense of that. And so I got a much better sense of it. And what I realized is I think the cars, in terms of AP, and I'll just call it normal because I keep forgetting what the letters are, the cars are the same, which makes sense. There's no difference whatsoever in the actual ride. The seats are the same in both. It's not like, ooh, they're even more luxury in the AP because it's a more expensive ride. So that was good education for me. The first class was, maybe the seats were a little bit wider and they looked like they were black leather, so maybe a little softer. But the seats in the second class were identical to the second class seats in the train back, which wasn't AP. So I believe, and I can't state this for fact, but I believe the only difference is the engine, because it goes faster. Yeah, we got up to we exceeded 240 kgh heading up. So, man, I've never been on land moving this fast ever.
Hold on a minute, is that kilograms per hour?
Oh, I meant km. Sorry. Still working on my metrics. Yes.
240 kilograms per hour sounds really fast.
That's right, man. I was putting on the weight, getting heavier. Well, Einstein didn't tell you. He said not only do you not age as fast when you're moving, when you accelerate, but you're gaining weight at a faster rate. He didn't tell you that.
No, it's so true. Be careful of that, everybody, when you're traveling on Portuguese. Thank you for that traveling tip there, James. Well, that sounds
Yes.
wonderful. So, yeah, I love the AP trains. And I think the other one is the IC, isn't it? Intercity in Alpha Pendula.
That could be it.
Yeah. So it
And
sounds like you had a good journey.
the AP would really be an advantage if you had a straight shot from Porto to Algarve.
Yes.
You know, and you didn't have to go through cities, and you didn't have to stop for anybody, because then
day.
it could probably get up to 300 or more and just sail the entire way. So if the AP didn't have, I mean, they only stopped, I think, maybe 4 or 5 times versus 10 or 12. But going through every city that they went through, because traffic has to cross the tracks, they have to go at 20 kmh. So you're like petit for 10 kilometers, then it goes boo, and it accelerates again because it's got some distance,
Yes.
and then it stops, and then it so in the end it takes about 25 minutes more if you're not on the AP between Lisboa and Porto. There's not a huge significant time difference
total
based
journey
on the
time?
speed. Going up on the AP was almost exactly 3 hours.
Perfect.
Coming back on the IC, it was 3 hours and 20 or 25 minutes.
And you get to see a lot of the country, as you said, little views downstream to the sea. How lovely. How lovely.
And being someone who enjoys, birding, I like to look at birds, and having the opportunity to be on a whole new continent across a huge ocean. There's potential new species. I'd never seen a live stork before. I've seen them on videos, but I'm on the AP heading north. I'm going, what's that? Okay, it's black and white. It's like, what's the tail look like? So it was just too fast. I had to get one piece at a time, but fortunately they were in the farmlands as we progress. We get several looks.
You have a Twitchers group. We've not thought of that. A Gumpers Twitchers group. There's many great opportunities for bird watching here in Portugal, of course, seabirds and inland as well. Fantastic. Flamingos even in this wonderful country. There you go. Eversoish. What does that mean? Is that migration, Eversoish?
No, I think that's, I forget what it was. It has nothing to do with birds, but the primary article was observing the birds specifically in the Mafra area. So it's all in Portuguese. I haven't translated or attempted to read a 5 or 6 page article in Portuguese yet.
Okay, bonus.
So I'll work on that.
Improve your Portuguese whilst bird watching. Fantastic.
Yes, and online I've only been able to find stuff from the Algarve, so I haven't done intensive research, but I keep being told, "Oh no, you can find birding groups everywhere." So far, I haven't been so successful, but
okay, well, we'll see.
Again, I haven't invested a lot of time trying to do that at this point.
Okay, well, thank you for being here. Sounds like you had a lovely weekend in Porto, and of course, Connie is here this morning. Good morning to you, Connie.
Hi, Connie. Thank you again.
So, James, any migration reflections since going to Porto or in this last week for you?
Well, follow up a little bit about language, because I when you talked about, what do you say when you get attacked by a dog, and you came up with a few things, and I was trying to remember what Sidonio says. I don't know if it's standard nationwide, but he says, "Ui, ui." Sometimes it's like, oh, that's like, I don't agree with it. And sometimes it's like, oh, that's gross. There's a lot of uses for "ui," but I'm sure if I witnessed him getting attacked by a dog, I'd be like, "Ui, ui, ui," like that. It's, all right. So "ui," that's one I've learned from him. I don't know. Maybe Antonio could help me to know if that is a generalized thing or a very specific thing to the person that I live with. But I wanted to share that. And then I did watch the U.S. The first U.S. match with with Wales. That's what it was. Yes. And so I have a little anecdote about that. But first, I want to say, because it came up on one of the shows last week, I think, the whole "how do you pronounce Worcestershire sauce," right? And the response was Worcester, and I said, okay, So the Brits can't get mad at the Portuguese on that one, is because, Worcester is kind of like, and this is where it comes back to the football. I heard the announcer several times go, Statue Unidos, Statue Unidos, Statue Unidos. And I'm going, Statue Unidos? Is that Estados Unidos? Is that Estados Unidos? It's like, and then so I thought, okay, I thought I was hearing it wrong or saying it wrong, and I was making a joke about it to one of the people who was walking through the living room who wasn't watching with us. And I said, her name's Sophia. She said, are you watching football or something like that? And I said, "Sí, Estados Unidos." And I thought it was a joke. I go, "Ah." And she goes, "Oh, okay," and then continued on. And then I went, "Oh, so that's a real thing, Estados Unidos." Worcestershire, Estados Unidos. It's like, cram the words again.
So that's really useful, isn't it, for people? So Stadonic is how
no, just Estados Unidos is what I heard. Now, I don't know that would be considered proper Portuguese, but it's been a tongue twister for me to say "Sou dos Estados Unidos" because get the stis and dis, and it's like, but if I could just say "Sou dos Estados Unidos," it's like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
So okay. I'll need a little bit of coaching on the proper pronunciation of that. But if I can get away with Estados Unidos, it's much easier than Estados Unidos.
But a great example of the phenomenon of eating words, and as Philomena pointed out to us a long time ago, Portuguese love eating. They even eat their words.
Yes, yes.
There's a good example of it. Estados Unidos.
Yes,
there you
Estados
go.
Unidos.
Good to know. Thank you very much. Americans tend to ask, don't they? What do you do in life, don't they? When you meet up with Americans, what do you do? And then when you're retired, the question becomes, what did you used to do? Do you find yourself in those sorts of conversations with people? And how do you approach it?
I'm not sure I'm not sure that I know the profession of anyone that I know in Portugal.
Interesting.
Well, wait, that's not true. I know João because we have spent time together, and he's just talked about what he was doing on the job. And I said, "Oh, so what is it that you do?" So I discovered that. And someone else asked Antonio that question on the forum, and so I found out that way. But people say, "How do you know that?" to me, and often it's related to what I was doing for work at the time. So then it gets related that way. But I haven't had anyone say, "What do you do for a living?" But then again, it comes up in conversation as you get to know people anyway.
Yeah.
I was working with one of my clients today, and So, "Oh, so what do you do? You work with clients, like that." But it's not like the first question. "Hey, how you doing?" "Yeah." Okay. That's what do you say after you say hello in America anyway? Almost always. So what do you?
Yeah, it seems very much a part of American life and conversation. It's fine to ask that, isn't it? But I don't think it's so much a thing here.
Yeah, and part of it's interesting because I have ideas that I've said before, I kind of lay out in case there's something that we're not talking about. It's like, oh, I can bring this up. And one that was close to the top today was retirement in regard to Portugal and the differences between men and women and all of that stuff. So I've definitely spent some time thinking about that concept of doing versus being, the value of it, and the stereotypes anyway of the differences between men and women and how they value their place on the planet. And men tend to value based on what they do, and women tend to value based on what the priority is, relationships.
Yes.
So it's different. They're going to want to talk more about family and friends, and men are going to want to talk generally more about their work and the things that they do, their hobbies, things like that. So
okay.